Dowd.
Well, you know what, Pat? We cannot have Skinny Wednesday, or what I like to call Healthy Wednesday, with, of course, food. We have to have food. But one of the things I recognize is missing over here, Dr. Dowd, is we've got the vegetables, we've got the protein. Where's the grain?
The grain.
Yeah.
Everybody asks me where the grain
Where's
is.
the grain? Where's the grain?
The grain's been replaced with green.
Okay.
Okay, because green has just as much fiber, and it has a whole lot more nutrition, no carbohydrates, and fewer calories.
Now, okay, before we get to what we see right here, help me understand that. I thought everybody needs carbohydrates because carbohydrates gives you energy. So even if you need some grain, don't you?
Actually, if you look at some cultures, and this is sort of a history lesson, say you look at Inuit Indians, these were Eskimos.
Yeah.
There aren't a whole lot of vegetables up in the Arctic, but they seem to be quite healthy before we introduced McDonald's to them, with just eating lots of fatty fish and getting their omega-3s and eating lots of lean protein. And so what we've learned from cultures like that is that grain is not as healthy as some other foods that we should probably be focusing on.
Okay, well, let's talk about some of the healthy foods. We've got this array of the greenery. Tell me what this is and why it's important.
Well, what we have here is we have things like bok choy, and we have some collard greens and Swiss chard over here. We have some nuts, which are a great substitute for cheese. You know, most Americans love to eat cheese as a fatty snack.
And you actually said in your book that cheese is like worse than fast food.
The king of junk food,
I think I called it. The king of junk food!
I think I'm going to invite some trouble with that.
Yeah.
But nuts are a much healthier choice. They have polyunsaturated fats instead of saturated fats. They don't have any salt unless you get them with salt on them, so it's a much healthier substitute. We have mushrooms, which when they're sun-dried are very high in vitamin D. So these are great substitutes for grain and dairy.
Wonderful, and very high in vitamin D as well. Okay, now let's talk about this meal over here. A typical meal, and you could eat it for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Salmon and spinach.
Exactly. We have some grilled salmon here. It looks like a wonderful piece of salmon. And instead of serving it with pasta or rice, we're serving it on a bed of greens here. We have some chopped walnuts and dried fruit for flavor, rather than adding fat that is unhealthy for you in the form of cheese or having it served up with grain.
Wonderful. And of course, you know, we can't have a meal without dessert. I don't care what people say, you gotta have your dessert. Now, you have a healthy one.
We do have a healthy one. And this one struck me because I'm a chocolate lover. I do like chocolate.
Me too.
And I used to eat little Snickers bars.
Yeah.
And what I learned was that dates taste like caramel. So I thought, well, what if I just chop up some different kinds of nuts, mix a little flaxseed in there and a little nutmeg and vanilla, and then stuff a pitted date with these nuts? I'll bet it would taste like a Snickers bar, and sure enough, it did. So nutty dates taste like little chocolate candy bars.
I'm tempted to test your theory, just not right now. And you're talking about the Snicker bar, I'm like, I'm really going to have to test that one. Well, you know what? Dr. Dowd's book is called The Vitamin D Cure, and it's right here. I'm going to grab it. You want to hold that? Perfect. You be my model. It's in bookstores everywhere. We also have a free fact sheet for you, and I'm going to hold that. And that is called The Curing Power of Vitamin D. And it's yours free. All you have to do is just call 1-800-716-FACT, or you can always log on to CBN.com. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I'm going to stand out in the sun and eat a date and not a Snicker bar.
Excellent.
Perfect. Still ahead, we've got your